but don't have. And I'll run into the sea, follow this heart that escapes me. It escapes me, and I'm lost. Forget me, all I was and become. Everything, all I wanted. Although it feels like heaven, I can't wait forever. Old habits are hard to break. I'm losing faith. Maybe we're better off this way, but I'm still lost. Forget me, all I was and become. Everything, all I wanted. Fill me out with your smile. Now the sunshine brings the light. Fill me out with a flame. I will let you in this game. Take me out when I'm down. 'Cause with you I'm safe and sound. I'm safe and sound.
Hello, good evening. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to the Q Lounge. My name is Shady Groove. And glad to be with you. Excited to do another show. Not a lot of Q drops. No Q drops actually since the last time we spoke. So I thought we would go over some other things tonight. I'll do a little bit of a discussion about the media and what their role is. Maybe how we could improve their ability to tell the truth. And different ways you can avoid being caught up in the rhetoric. I'm pretty sure that most of you are starting to see by now the rhetoric is quite dense and quite full of untruths. Thanks to the Anon out there that made this meme, really great meme. You don't fight for freedom, give it away without protest. Stand free or kneel chained. Somehow we've gotten away from thinking that this means something or is relevant to us still, or that freedom is just something that occurs, just happenstance, kind of just is there for you, sometimes taken for granted. I think by all of us. I think we all take a nice bit of responsibility for the dysfunctionalness of our media. And what role do they play with us? What role does the media play? And how important is it? And how important did, say, the founders of the United States or America, 1774, 1775, leading up to the Revolution, how important was it to them for a press that wasn't controlled by a monarchy? Seemed very important. So I want to go over a few of those things this evening, kind of give a base of why I think these things are important and why we need to be discussing them, how we can maybe do better. Get right into it. Both of these things are true. It's all a matter of how you look at it. Gives you an idea of how we can we're missing a little bit of what's right in front of us. All of us are. Even the people paying attention. We're all missing something. Working on trying to figure out and understand what that is. But both of these things can be true. So oftentimes people that we disagree with or think differently than see things like this. Maybe through the round part instead of the square part. It's a good analogy for understanding others and having yourself be understood. Remembering that the freedom for you to say things means freedom others to say things. We get upset, we get offended pretty easy these days. Unnecessarily easy, upset and offended. So we come over here and we start to do a little bit of research. First, I want to show you that this is the current Q board. No drops since 2nd. We went over those on Friday. Pretty interesting set of circumstances around these drops and the rescheduling saying forthcoming. A lot of anons out there thinking that that might mean the 4th of July. Some interesting things are lining up with the Q clock on the 4th of July. We're going to do a segment about the Q clock as well soon. Maybe get some guys on here to talk about it with me. Really amazing stuff. That. So let's take a look real quick at the U.S. Constitution. In Amendment 1, very simple, a little over 2 lines. How could something this small be this important? Let's read it. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievance. Redress of grievances. No law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise of the establishment of a religion, or abridging the freedom of speech, or specifically abridging freedom of the press. That's a very interesting thing to focus on. Has anyone heard of the Fourth Estate? You know what the Fourth Estate is? What it is to be considered? Fourth Estate is the press. People who are entrusted to dig in on the details given to us by monarchies, on the details given to us by corporations, on the details given to us by politicians. All those details are entrusted to be given to us by the, quote, free press. Now, currently in the last, well, since the election, the press has done a little bit of different things that do not really add up to a free press. And what do I mean by that? Well, talk about, for instance, Donald Trump talks about fake news, brings it to our attention all the time, and he talks about what's the fake news. He's trying to point you in a direction to get you to see that the opinions of pundits on television and in the newspaper are not specifically the news. They're opinions. People have opinions. We all have opinions. Those opinions bleed into our decisions to publish news. Now, we all want to think and sit back and think, oh, we got all this. We have 24/7 news, and we have this influx of people, and all of these guys are lining up there, and they're saying all this stuff specifically, and they match up on all different channels. And over the last 20 years, it's gotten way more consolidated. But in general, they're all saying the same thing. Now, why are they all saying the same thing? Why is there not a diversity of opinion about any given subject? They agree on things. They agree on things between Fox News and MSNBC and CNN and Washington Post and New York Times. All these corporations, they agree on things. They all agree. They all agree that almost everything that they think is important to them is important to you or us. And then they cry and cry and cry, free speech, freedom of the press, freedom of the press, freedom of the press. We're having our freedom of the press removed. So people are quashing free speech because, say, for instance, the president tweets out against them, accuse him of bullying them, accuse him of trying to control the, quote, narrative. I think it was Mika on Morning Joe who said that it's our job to tell you what to think. What does that mean? Does that mean you're sovereign? Free thinker? So the freedom of the press has been skewed to mean somehow the freedom of the press to say whatever they want. To literally say whatever they want to. And because it's the freedom of the press, then they're allowed to say whatever they want to. But that is really not the case. It's not. And I'll tell you why. It's not the case because the press has been entrusted. These companies were entrusted. CBS, NBC, ABC in particular were some of the first networks to come online, Some of those networks, most of those, I think, if I'm not mistaken, all three go back to radio. And whenever they were on the radio, they were given specific FCC clearances, and rules were applied to them as for if they maintained airwaves in a neutral way and reported the news semi-neutrally. Now, everyone has their spin or their bias or their own particular way they want to see things, but to some degree, to sit there on the radio or on TV and to literally say, this is the story. There was a person, and there was an incident, and this is what happened. This is how it happened. This is where it happened, and we're investigating what happened. And then they would send a journalist, not a reporter, to go find out the truth. Well, this journalist, these journalists, they were a thorn in the side of American corporate life, pre-1900, pre-Revolutionary War. They were a thorn in the side of the narrative that is wanted to be perpetrated by entities that are, let's say, not holding your best interest at heart. And so these interests have conspired over the past 100 years to consolidate the box of which they maintain your opinion. In other words, your opinion can't really go much further outside these couple little areas, or you're far right or far left. They go way over here, you're a conspiracy theorist. Go way over here on this spectrum, you're a Nazi. You don't know the difference between a Nazi and a communist and a socialist, or the similarities. You don't know the similarities between, say, a Nazi and secret society. So what if the U.S. Constitution was actually set up as a way to try to combat a specific secret society, or a way to attempt to free people from the control mechanism which was understood at the time that they used? And to put in as a First Amendment the freedom of the press, right beside the freedom of you as a sovereign human, freedom of speech, right before the right of the people to peaceably assemble, and within the ability for you to petition your government for redress of grievances. Now, like I said, in this small little sentence here, cover a lot of ground. So there's all this different aspects of news occurring now. It's occurring around you. It's becoming white noise. It's becoming like your TV whenever it wouldn't get a signal, the white screen. Can't hardly hear it. Why is it fading out for you so fast? It's because it's not true. It is not the truth. It is their opinion. And they are using the airwaves, and they're going under the guise of free speech to freely say whatever it is they want to say to control their narrative. The narrative being spread along multiple different platforms. Now here we see a little definition of the phrase fourth branch of government. The fourth branch of government is a phrase that appears to have first surfaced among the critics of FDR's New Deal in the 1930s. It referred to the press, but not to the collection of new federal regulatory agencies, top officials appointed by the executive branch. Their function was quite judicial, and they were not directly accountable to the people. Identifying the fourth branch of government as the press came a decade or so later. Hartford current editor Herbert Brucker, in his 49-book Freedom of Information, devoted some ink to it. He explicitly equated the Fourth Estate, another older phrase often applied to the press, with his, which has its own linguistic history derived from British and French politics with the fourth branch of government. So this idea of a fourth estate comes from basically the monarchy, Europe. So it's kind of been imposed on us a little bit differently than it was intended. And there's ample evidence point us in that direction. So we're going to talk about the mockingbird media and what is meant by the mockingbird media. When you hear that phrase, I have a feeling you're going to hear that phrase quite often in the future. You're going to be curious as to what it refers to whenever you get the message somebody refers to mockingbird media. So I mean, or if you're trying to tell somebody, hey, there's the mockingbird media. Well, it's pretty simple. Go to DuckDuckGo right here. Type in Operation Mockingbird, and wow, look, I could pull any one of these beautiful memes up, give you an idea of what we're talking about. But I think we're talking about an Orwellian state where the mockingbird media controls what you see and hear. And if they all work together, like a football team, would you know the difference? Control of Information in America, Operation Mockingbird, a CIA extension of a plan originally perpetrated by J.P. Morgan, who hired 12 high-ranking news managers to assess the most influential news outlets in the country. They then took control of those top news publications for the purpose of controlling the news in the U.S. This was later done with radio and TV as well. The culmination of this coup is that we now have a mere 6 corporate CEOs who tell us what news we can see and what news we can't see. So freedom of speech to the media means what you shouldn't see. Our media is thus controlled. They can tell us anything they want to, and most would have no clue. They were being lied to. They are being lied to. Trusted our media too much, and it was used against us. Our much needed watchguard of democracy is gone. Reestablishing a new and honest media is job one in awakening the people and getting our country back. True democracy does not exist under censorship. A true democracy does not exist under censorship. Well, that's true, but a true republic doesn't exist without censorship being applied. So look at all these memes and just think for a second about all the anons out there who created all these memes. And a lot of them are related to Q. A lot of these memes came and inspired by Q. And they're telling to us about everything from 9/11 to the CIA's schemes around the planet, upending duly elected countries' leaders for puppets. Puppet here, puppet there, puppet everywhere. Operation Mockingbird means that we keep repeating. We repeat everything, and if we drive it into your brain from every single angle, whether it's NPR or CNN or the Washington Post or New York Times, CBS, NBC, News Corps, Twitter, Google, Facebook. How many of you guys depend on any of those companies that I just mentioned for your news? The news in the future is going to look much different. And we're all going to interact with it differently. So I'm giving you a little bit of an introduction here to people who aren't already aware out there. And a little shout out to all the bakers, to all the anons, to all the patriots, to all the people involved in this movement, not just in the United States, but the movement is on planet Earth. Everyone wants to be free. People are controlled by the people in charge. Countries are controlled by the people who control the narrative. Now I want to play this little 1-minute video here so you can hear a little bit of Operation Mockingbird.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about the trouble and trying to irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 What do you think about that? How does that make you feel about being able to trust these people whenever they stand on the air and tell you things like they know, like they happen to go out and do the research? They didn't. They didn't go out and do the research. And they're not there as a fourth estate to help you understand your government, your country, or your fellow citizens. Sovereignty, or your liberty, or help define tyranny. They don't do any of those things, which is exactly what we created them and gave them specific privileges to represent the truth. And they've taken those privileges and they have been usurped by a deep state. And all the people that have been following Q and understand Q, most of them knew this already. Most of us had been on this path for years. Most of us thought that a time like this may never come. And we were ostracized by people who didn't agree with us. That's fine. And we attempted to explain, and we were found among disagreement, and we can appreciate that. We accept it. But now we're in a little bit of a different realm. And I want to talk more to the Anons or to the Q people out there, because you guys are more in the know. And so a lot of this is just fluff for you. You understand this already. So we're going to talk about stuff that's related more to Q. and what's going on in the media about Q. Before we get into that, I wanted to show you this little graphic right here. I tweeted this little graphic out earlier in the week, and I think it shows a real good example of what news is going to look like for you in the near future. News is going to look like this. And what this is Q drops that are cross-referenced with timestamps. That are cross-referenced with stories that are coming out in the news that have not been reported on. No journalism attempted at this project of hundreds of supposedly cases full of donated Red Cross blood actually being filled with cash, taken into places like Syria by people like Lindsey Graham, and we don't say his name, and Miss Clinton, Mr. Biden, are top runner for the Democrats in 2020 against Trump. U.S. Senate Committee on Armed Services, zero footprint. Whoa, that means the whole Committee on Armed Services participating in it? CIA contracted mercenaries in Syria and Libya. CIA operations named Timber Sycamore. Go out there, type that in. Go look at the information that's on this stuff. This isn't hidden. Weapons supply and training program in the Middle East, 2012-2013. Purple Shovel, gun running. Silk Airways, connected to Benghazi. Moving guns on airplanes and then hiding the airplanes, moving cash under the guise of Red Cross. You think Red Cross doesn't know about that? Stuff that's up here in April, stuff that's up here in January. Look at all these Q drops. Red Cross, corrupt, used as a piggy bank. Red Cross, very similar to other flags, Templar flags, Swiss flags. Red Cross. Interesting symbology. Columbus, I'm pretty sure, flew a Red Cross. So let's just play this little clip here. Just give you a minute, a few seconds of this. Tom Arnold on CNN. They had him on there, like, just because he wanted to talk negatively about the president.
About it, I just say this: when you're president, the Library of Congress documents everything you've done, and I think that if you see, for instance, one full day on the boardroom set of The Apprentice, one full day, and you've seen how incompetent he was.
Is that what you have? Is unaired tapes from his time on The Apprentice?
We have a lot of things.
Is that part of what you have, Tom?
I would tell you that everything, every tape. The P tape, I would bet that every tape is real.
I'm sorry, are you talking about the word he used on Access Hollywood, the Access Hollywood tape?
Well, that's
Is that
real.
What you're talking
the
about?
Grab by the Pussy tape's real.
Let's not use that word
on
I'm
this
sorry,
program. I think,
but
I apologize for quoting the president.
Thank you.
Okay.
What are the tapes that you can tell us that you have that are unaired?
I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to watch the show.
And we will.
Okay.
But the topic, at least. If you cannot divulge.
Well, I can't even say the words because they're so disgusting. And it's the president of the United States. I can't say what Donald Trump is involved with because it's disgusting.
What is the evidence that you have? Because people are watching right
now.
I'm going to tell you about the president of the United States.
And by the way, there's children being torn from their parents. And he doesn't know where they're going to go. And there's 2,300 that will not find their families ever. That's what's disgusting, right? Don't you agree?
See that? Look at that. Wow. It's amazing, the shift. Literally, you can take something that you are not talking about, throw it right into the conversation. If you watched the hearings the other day in Congress, all the Democratic Congress representatives and even a bunch of the Senate did the same thing. They threw this narrative out. This story came out of nowhere about 2,300 kids who were separated from their families. And I'm not disputing that might actually be the case, and I'm not defending necessarily that having to be done. But the truth is, it's what the law says. And the truth is, it's what prior administrations put into place. The truth is, it's a perfect way for the president to bring this to the forefront, because he's making the Democrats freak out about children, and we're going to change this narrative into the children. And we're going to start trying to figure out where in the world do 400,000 American children go to every year. And we're going to start trying to figure out where do, 5 to 6 million children on planet Earth go missing every year? Where are they going? We got that many people that can't keep up with their kids? Really? No. They're being taken. They're being taken. And there's platforms like Google and Facebook and Twitter that are being utilized by secret accounts, and they are trading, and they are bidding, and they are moving quantity of children around the globe. Some are for organ harvesting, some are for slavery, some are for the sex trade. It all depends on their use, and it all depends on what they're being purchased for. Now, I know that sounds out there, but that is what is happening. And when you have someone like this come on the news, and the news be able to take someone who is literally has no point, but he has an emotional response to the children. And Rachel Maddow is having an emotional response to the children. And we're all up in arms about the children. We're really up in arms about the children. News agencies like New York Times wouldn't be suppressing stories on Harvey Weinstein. And news agencies like MSNBC and NBC and ABC that are locked into contracts and deals. So these people, not only are they locked in contracts and deals with media and people in Hollywood, they're locked into contracts and deals with the government. The government, literally, the Pentagon gives like $600 million a year to make movies and used as propaganda. And what's getting ready to come out is all these other journalists who have directly either bribed or had evidence given to them with direct instructions without vetting the information. They're not vetting it. They're taking it and they're saying, they're shaking their heads. Oh, okay. I'll take that. Yeah. And then they go say it verbatim. And if they don't say it verbatim, then there's not going to get a news story next time. All of a sudden you would be outcast from your little source. So now that's a lot about the mainstream media. We're going to skip over the rest of Tom Arnold here because you can go watch it on your own. It's absolutely ridiculous. Lots of people, I'm pretty sure, agree with me. So here is Maxine Waters today in a crowd of like 12 people.
We want it done now. We're going to insist on it. If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet. Already, you have members of your cabinet that are being booed out of restaurants, who have protesters taking up at their house, who's saying no peace, no sleep. No peace, no sleep. And guess what? We're going to win this battle because while you try and quote the Bible, Jeff Sessions and others, you really don't know the Bible. God is on our side. On the side of the children. On the side of what's right. On the side of what's honorable. On the side of understanding that if we can't protect the children, we can't protect anybody. And so, let's stay the course. Let's make sure we show up wherever we have to show up. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
You push back on them and tell them they're not welcome anymore anywhere. Really? So now we're going to start sending people to harass administration officials, government officials. We had a very, very unusual incident the other night with a South Carolina representative, conservative representative, with a head-on collision. I believe her name was Arrington. Very unusual head-on collision. This fight is real. It's real. Not hearsay. Not propaganda. Real. It's a fight for your head, fight for your mind. And I don't recommend you go run into people like the anti-Q media. Because not only are we being bombarded with all of this incessantly, being bombarded by this LARP. Q is a LARP. Over and over and over and over again. You're going to hear Q is a LARP from people that do not know what a LARP is or means, or where it's even referring to. A LARP, a live action role playing game. Live action role playing. A person who is pretending to be someone they are not and playing a game of disinformation. Plenty of them out there. Not like LARPs don't exist. They've been crawling across the chans for years. LARP is like a forum chan board prophet. Never right. Well, Q does not fit in that category. And we have a lot of issues of why we're not seeing more of this in our mainstream. And we have gatekeepers. We in the Q community, we have gatekeepers. People that try to keep their flock in. Who are these people? And what are they doing? What are they protecting? I'm going to name a few of them. Their names are Alex Jones. Their names are DeFango, Titus Frost, Unirock, Anti-School. All of those guys are spreading disinformation intentionally because they haven't done their research. And they jump on the bandwagon to say, oh, Q is a LARP. Q is Pamphlet Anon from 24/7 Soapbox. Q is someone who had access to Twitter and could get the president's tweets 5 minutes ahead. Even though the president and Q have synced with their delta signs to say 15-minute delta, Q will make a drop. 15 minutes later, Mr. Trump will make a drop. A tweet. Lots of times they're missing letters, and they share letters, and they share missing letters. Sometimes there's letters left out. And we're not always told when that happens, but it is a proof, a Q proof. So these guys go on the air and they go talking to people on YouTube and try to tell people that Q is a LARP, not real, Q is not happening. Alex Jones pretends like he's got his own Q, Zach or whatever, and then he, that doesn't work out for him, and then he tries to say, oh, well, Q's not real. We know Q, then all the Q's not real. All facade rage, pretend to rage. These other guys, Titus, Unirock, I don't have anything against those guys. They're not telling you the truth. And they're talking to you like they know, like they're talking to you like they followed this stuff. And I know that a couple of those guys did follow it early, but they're not following it now. They decided months ago that Q was a LARP, quote unquote, and they let it go. If they would have continued on the path that they were on, they would realize the things that me and most of the Q searchers out there already know. Which is, we are being led out of the darkness by some amazingly brave people who are taking unimaginable risks with their lives and their family lives. Unimaginable. Lots of speculation about what's really going on. How many assassinations attempts have been thwarted towards Mr. Trump. Even a possible poisoning by his wife Melania, as opposed to the kidney surgeries. Realize that this back and forth that's going on between the white hats and the deep state cannot be televised. They can't play it out in front of you. It has to be subtle. The president can't come out spouting off all this stuff and making everybody focus on the idea that he's a conspiracy theorist or the like. So it's got to be organic. We've got to start it. It's our revolution. The American Revolution 2.0. We're in the middle of it. And they are on the front lines. Anons and bakers and normies, red-pilled people, woke people. They're seeing right through Sinclair. They're seeing right through Mockingbird. And they're seeing right through DeFango. And they're seeing right through Titus. So what do we do? What do we do about it? What are we going to do to fix it? Well, let me tell you what we can do to fix it. We're going to start ignoring them. We're going to stop allowing ourselves to be emotionally entangled in BS. BS that is perpetrated by fake news. We're going to see through it. Pause and discern objectively. You'll see their spin. It's not hidden. Right there in plain sight. They're not taking responsibility. None of these guys are. Anti-Q guys are creating a barrier in between the people who are doing this research, the mainstream people. That barrier is working both ways. It is working to prevent mainstream people from penetrating the sphere past the rhetoric to find true information, because none of it's being disseminated through these guys because they quit looking into it. And they have a pretty decent following, most of them. So they're turning people off like that. And then at the same time, lots of new Q people who are trying to find information are attempting to figure it out through them. Getting nowhere either way. So they can protect the Mockingbird media with a second line of defense that looks like people like you or me. Really smart computer guys. Guys that are way smarter on computers than I ever will be. Mad skills. They're misidentifying truth. They are not aware of what the Constitution says and means and how it's relevant to the drops that we've gotten through Q. The drops that have made us all motivated to exposing them and given us power to speak to them through these different channels, through these different avenues of media. Don't expect it to last too long. They're already shutting everybody down on Twitter. Everyone gets shadow banned on Twitter. What do you mean by shadow banned on Twitter? What I mean by that is, if I make a tweet put it a hashtag in that tweet of QAnon. I post that tweet. You go to QAnon and look at the most recent feed. My tweet's not there. Lots of guys' tweets there. Lots of people researching Q's tweets aren't there. Whenever we comment in threads of normal people to try to change their mind about what their particular outrage is at the moment and how they are misunderstanding the truth, not necessarily properly understanding the media either, called resistance. Gotta overcome it. We're going to overcome it. Because I'm going to give you some suggestions, and I'm going to talk to you for just a few minutes about who I think you should follow and where I think that you can get valuable sources of information. Sarah Carter is one of the best mainstream journalists that I think is out there. Thomas Paine, semi-alternative journalist, runs True Pundit, becoming more mainstream, knows where the bodies are buried, knows what these stories are, isn't filtering it like Sean Hannity is. Remember, News Corp is 40% owned by the same people that own CNN, Twitter. Saudi Arabia, guys, owns a large portion of your media. Billionaires in Saudi Arabia. How come you see them not respect freedom? You see them not respect patriotism. And you see them use these undeniably strange words like white nationalist. White nationalist. White person who loves his country. In a derogatory tone, most of the time looped in with Klan members. Mockingbird Media. Some other people you guys should check out is Liz Crokin. She has a tremendous amount of information on the human trafficking, what's really going on with the kids. You guys should all get over there, support, follow her. Also, for Q Decodes, I really love Praying Medic. In the Matrix, Lisa Crowley, Jordan Sedler, Swamp Drainer, Neon Revolt, Farmer Funk. Those are guys you can find out there on Twitter. Start finding Q people on Twitter and follow them and like their posts. More posts that we have that we post that get liked, they get upvoted in threads. Other people see our stuff. More people we wake up. This is not Republican against Democrat. We'll repeat that. This is not Republican against Democrat. It means nothing to Anons. It's not left versus right. It's right versus wrong. Good versus evil. Bottom line, where are the children and why does the media not talk about it? And I started showing you the video the other night, some of the symbology and the connection to the owl. And Stephen, I'm going to stop here before I get out of here. I'm going to show you a few different things too. Look for these symbols. Again, Google search or DuckDuckGo search pedophile symbols. Not hidden knowledge. Not conspiracy theory. Real. Very real. All over the place. It's on the badge of the LA County Sheriff's. These triangles, concentric circles. And I know, oh yeah, okay, well yeah, it's just could be happenstance. Okay, well if I'm could be happenstance. But I promise you that there are men in Europe and Saudi Arabia that are scanning your children's Facebook pages, and they're trying to pick out which one they want. If they target your child from overseas, how much do you think it costs them to send somebody to come try to get them? They want that one imported. You think they don't have the funds to do that? What do you think this is going on with all these children coming in through Mexico with, like, the same child coming in multiple times with different people? What is that? Can't really make any connection between the parent and the child. The children seem to not know the people that are bringing them. They can't speak English. And we have a impugned border patrol who is attempting to sort it out while we have the media attacking ICE agents and doxing ICE agents. WikiLeaks doxed ICE agents this week, guys. WikiLeaks posted addresses and phone numbers of ICE officers. And we have people heckling the Health and Human Services Secretary at dinner, standing there yelling and screaming at her while she's having a meal. And then we have people who own, quote unquote, the red hen, making it uncomfortable for our press secretary to stay there and have a meal. Discord. Don't buy it. Get away from it. Tell your friends. Don't let them live in it. They're hung up and they're mad and they're angry. Say, okay, you're hung up, you're mad and you're angry, but you're not seeing the truth. Break their illusion. Stand up for freedom. Stand up for the children. If they really want to stand up for the children, let's stand up for the children. Let's quit putting this inconvenient fact aside, not focusing on it. Symbols are real. The story of Q. Who is the anonymous online poster claiming to be a high-level administration official, and can he or she bring us some much-needed truth in an era of fake news? Yes. Ted Mann, shout out. Great article. Very neutral. Pointing to what's going on. Saying that he doesn't really know what it is, but it's pretty impressive. Not telling you Q is a LARP, but telling you Q is existing. That's what you want. You want the neutral guys. You want the guys that say, hey, Q's existing. We don't know exactly what Q, we don't have the code to this map, guys. We've been given the map. We've put the map together. The map is there, but we don't have the codes to it. We don't have the keys to it. We have the keys to it. Well, the guys that we're trying to usurp would be able to put the damn thing together, right? They'd be able to put it right together and know what the plan is. We're not going to get the keys to it till it's time. Future proofs past means exactly that. Also, Q told us that they've got it. Let them do the heavy lifting. That's not our fight. Our fight is compassion. Our fight is empathy. Our fight is peace. Our fight is peace. Peace for the sake of life. Peace is what ruins them. Peace brings them to their knees. Why? Because there is no discord. There's no hate, no animosity. Once you get in an environment like that, what do they have to hold on to control you? They have nothing. Nothing over any of us. Really enjoyed doing this. Very exciting. Fun. Hope to see you guys soon. I'm definitely going to be doing the Q Lounge live. Friday nights, Sunday nights, 8 p.m. West Coast time, 11 on the East Coast. We're going to get this going. We're going to get some people on here. We're going to do some interviews. We're going to start learning what news really is. Send your friends over. Friday night. Think about the Mockingbird media. Think about the idea that the European Union is attempting to ban memes. They want to ban memes. How you going to do that? You're going to ban a meme. Okay. So you're going to ban pictures? You're going to ban pictures that have writing on it. Okay. Well, that should be fun. Worldwide freedom. That's what we want. We want worldwide freedom, guys. And we can attain it. We can attain it together. It's been a pleasure. Catch you guys in a little while. Might start doing more broadcasts just randomly. Fun. Thanks a lot, everyone.